Dispatchers help callers on the worst days of their lives. For over 25 years, we've been there. A silent partner in millions of calls thanks to our redundant and diverse networks that ensure call delivery. Today, cities are bigger, traffic more congested, and the challenge is more complex. But you're never alone, because InDigital is quietly improving, implementing, and driving the next generation of 911, so you're supported in every situation. Make the switch at InDigital.net.
Have you ever met a 911 professional and asked, what's the worst call you've ever taken? Well, here's your answer. I heard your last breath the night you flipped your four-wheeler. I tried to call you the day you committed suicide by driving your car into a tree. Blue face, cold to the touch. I helped you with CPR after you found your infant face down, not breathing. It messed me up. I did everything I could, but it wasn't enough. You were with me from the beginning, Grandma. 27 years later, I took the 911 call when you died. How fitting to be there for me in the beginning, and I was there for you in the end. I miss you, Grandma. I am 911. This is but a glimpse into the world of emergency dispatch. But what is it really like to answer a call during someone's nightmare? What is the impact on the first responder answering the call? Available on Amazon or where you purchase your favorite books and ebooks. Imagine listening. Your worst day is our everyday.
This is Jordan, and you're listening to the Code 7 Podcast Network.
Warning. This episode contains the 3 A's of podcasting: adult content, adult language, and awesomeness. You've been warned.
I remember the bad ones.
Yeah.
There are a lot of good ones too. And of course, if somebody's calling in and they're missing their child and they have autism, you know, my son has autism, so I'm kind of extra hyper vigilant with that as well.
Yeah.
So some of those, you know, are good that we find the children and, you know, help the deputies out. But some of them I just, you know, I do remember, and unfortunately, some young children have lost their lives due to suicide. There's also a pursuit I'll never forget as well, that a father killed his 2-year-old daughter. So that I won't ever forget that.
Welcome to Within the Trenches, true stories from the 911 dispatchers who live them.
Hey, what's going on? This is Ricardo with the Code 7 Podcast Network, and this is going to be Within the Trenches, true stories from the 911 dispatchers who live them. This episode is sponsored by InDigital, Leader Next Gen Core Services, and also a big shout out to Rapid SOS for hosting the podcast here in their booth. We are currently live at AppCode 2025. We are in the vendor hall. You can probably hear a little bit of the ambience in back of us. We're at booth 2317. A lot of cool stuff has been going on. It's been super packed. People have been coming around to take pictures with the belt. They've been doing the scavenger hunt, and it has just been awesome, and I'm exhausted as hell. But it has been fun either way, and I have got my next guest with me here today. Her name is Jennifer, and she's the 911 coordinator with Harris County Sheriff's Office out of Houston, Texas. How's it going?
It's going.
Oh, man, I didn't even take a breath. I could take a breath. I'm just spitting it all out. So you say it's going,
Yes.
and is this your first time at this conference specifically, or at a national conference? Or?
Yes, it's actually my first time at any type of conference.
All right.
So it's been an interesting and eye-opening.
So in that sense, is it more like the classes, the amount of people, or I mean the vendor hall where we're at, because it is freaking enormous.
Yes, it is. It's so much in here. It's so much to learn.
Yeah.
How there's different products. The classes are great. Just listening to people's stories, so
Yeah.
that way I can take some of that back home with me.
Of course. No, that is awesome. I think that's one of the best things about all of these conferences, whether it be state or national conference, is the fact that when you're here, it's not just stuff to learn, but it's the networking alone that you can learn a lot of different things. You know, you might be, as you were saying, hearing stories, being in a class, and someone says something and you think, I'm actually been going through that as well, and you get that sense of not feeling alone, and maybe
Yes.
you end up connecting with other people and such, and you are learning from each other. So that's one of the cool things about this as well.
Yes. Yes.
It can be overwhelming too, though.
Oh, yes.
the amount of people, but also when you walk into the vendor hall, it is so enormous, so vast, and there's so many different sections. But I think one of the cool things, though, that can maybe calm the nerves or bring it down a level is something that you experienced yesterday. There
Yes.
is what is it exactly? They're puppies.
They're
Everyone keeps
puppies.
saying, go
So-
see the puppies, go see the puppies.
Go see the puppies. So they have a wellness program over there, and they brought all these puppies, and you can actually adopt them if you would like, but you can go over there and get some puppy snuggles, puppy dopamine, and play with them for a little bit, and it helps.
How many of them are there?
Oh, there's at least 15 puppies over there.
Oh,
so
geez.
they're super cute.
And people were saying that you can adopt them as well?
Yes.
No way. So when someone had walked by yesterday, they said that there are tons and tons of puppies over there. And I said, define tons and tons. Are you talking like I could jump in and swim around like Scrooge McDuck in his coins? And they said, well, not that much, but you can lay there and do snow angels.
Yeah, you can lay there. People are laying on the ground. They're laying with the puppies, and they're just having them jump all over them. So it's a good stress reliever,
Oh, okay,
considering
so
how much is over here.
I'm going to have to make sure to go over there and take some pictures and stuff because
Yes.
my daughters would love that as well. Daughters, we're not adopting one. I'm just saying I'm taking pictures for you. So I wanna jump in and learn more about you because we met at the ranch that Joe Serio puts on out there, the 911 training or leadership training event
Yes.
in Bandera, Texas at the Mayan Ranch. And that was, I have to say, I felt like you were in your element when you were riding the horses.
Yes, I was. I absolutely adore horses, and it was a good experience, and just finally taking a breather and just enjoying what I love to do that I haven't done in years.
That is awesome. Yeah, every time I saw you, I was like, look at that. You got the smile on her face. She's enjoying it. And you even called me out too a couple times. You're like, get over here, jump on, like get on a horse. I'm like, I don't know. My fear a little bit, like I would have at that moment as well, but a little bit of fear, like my daughter was doing horse riding, and the one time I finally get a chance to go see her, she gets bucked off. And I've never seen her fly as high, and this is slow motion, and I'm wanting to go in, but I knew the rules, like don't rush, because then the horse might freak out more or something. And she landed, and she immediately got up, stayed down, got up, and ran out of there. I was like, that's my baby girl. I was like, she knows what to do, but
Yeah.
that freaked me out, man. She did it for a little bit longer after that, but then she got into archery, and she's like kicking ass in archery. So I was like, "You're gonna get on the horse again?" She's like, "I don't have to fear getting bucked off."
Right? She'll get on the horse and do archery
Yeah,
at
she'll
the
do
same
both,
time.
right? Yeah, exactly. It was like, I will follow you into war, into
Yes.
battle. You take them out like Legolas. Let's do this. But yeah, always a good experience. I just wanted to mention that because there was so much transformation that a lot of people go through at that ranch, and I felt like for you specifically, just kind of watching you there, it was a good addition to be able to have that because, as you said, it was something that you hadn't done in a while, and
Yeah.
you might have been the first in line to sign up for it when you were there.
Don't remember, but I know I was in the line quick.
So you've been in public safety for 5 years, 5.5 years now, something like that?
Yes.
How did you get involved to begin with?
So I had gotten out of the military, and I had finished my degree in criminal justice, and I wanted to become a state trooper.
Yeah.
So I was looking around, and I didn't know if I wanted to go through that academy yet over there. So I was like, okay, well, let me go ahead and start with communications officer, Harris County. So I applied. Took a while to get into there, but then that's how I started in the law enforcement.
Nice. Did you end up doing the physical test or anything for a trooper at all?
No, not yet. Still thinking about it.
So, and being in the military, it probably wouldn't be much. I mean, what you did was way more intense than what the testing is. I don't know.
I don't know.
I can only imagine. I'm just assuming because the military seems like it's intense, right? So
Yes.
like all of the stuff building into it. The reason I say this is because when I was first dispatching in Florida, our records clerk, her husband was a state trooper, and he kept telling me, Ricardo, I think you would do well. And he was like a big shit trooper there.
Yeah.
There was all this stuff that had happened that he did. And I was appreciative of him that he would think that I could do it. But he started the process. I'm like, okay. So I started going through, and I did the physical test. I had been training for it, just like running and doing all this other stuff. Whew, you have a time limit. I finished it with 1.5 minutes left, so I passed it. The problem, though, was that when you get to the part where you have to drag the dummy,
Yes.
it's like 100 pounds. Yeah, just dead weight. We've never done that before. And I'm watching other people and how they're doing it so that I can kind of get an idea. So when it was my turn, I did, I had it and I was pulling it backwards like another person was doing. I was like, all right, this is working. And then halfway through that portion, my right thigh cramps up and I fell back. And I fell back on my back. And when I fell back, my right leg went up and my shoe flew up and off.
Your shoe flew?
It flew, dude. And I was so embarrassed because I landed and I see it flying. I'm like, why is this happening right now? And I was waiting to hear laughter. But here was the thing, and this was the thing that I thought was awesome as well. Already the camaraderie just in that moment of everyone actually yelling, come on, Martinez, come on, get up, and clapping. I was like, all right. So I got up, but also the guy that was there, he was a captain, and he looked like a drill sergeant with his hat and everything, the way he had it. He was like, get your ass up, Martinez. Like, oh my God. I was like, okay. And I made it through, came back, and I did it without my shoe.
The shoe got left behind.
Yes, the shoe got left behind. And it had rained earlier that day. So my socks, everything was just completely muddy. I finished and I got ready to leave. And that same sergeant comes up or captain, and he has my shoe. He has my shoe and he goes, Martinez, he goes, you got a lot of heart, but I got to tell you something. You need to eat more bananas so that you don't cramp up. It's like, thank you, sir. It was the craziest thing, but it was also awesome. So I don't know how it would be in Texas, but that's the way it was in Florida. So you end up getting into dispatch. You want to go into communications first. And did you do like a sit-along or anything? Like, did you listen to any traffic, or did you just do your interview and then like your first day was when you walked in?
Dove right in.
No shit.
Yep. So I had a little bit of training. It's changed now. But I started and still there.
So what was it like then for you what was it like when you found out that you got the job? Were you nervous? Were you super happy? You're like, yeah, I got this, or what have I got myself into?
I was actually really excited because of it was around COVID time.
Oh, okay.
So I had actually gotten released by the Department of Commerce because COVID started. So I was needing a job, so I was excited I got the job, and then I was excited it was with law enforcement.
Right.
So I went ahead and I went through the training, and then I got my trainer, and I started off as a call taker.
Nice. So you end up walking in that first day. What is it that you see? Like, how many people are on the floor at the time? Are you seeing like a bunch of consoles, a bunch of monitors, people eating while doing everything at the same time? And are you feeling overwhelmed? Like, what is going through your mind as you walk in?
I was scared because when we started going on the phones, I didn't know what to expect. I had never done this before. Mm-hmm. You know, I kind of, military is a little bit different in that aspect, but this is, you're hearing these people over the phone.
Right.
So we started off with non-emergency, and I was able to do that for a few weeks. And then all of a sudden, then we went to 911. I think the first time taking the calls on non-emergency was easy. It was, alarm calls. Didn't have
right.
anything,
Yeah. What zone are you in?
Yeah, exactly. I have no idea. It's zone, 300 and no description. But it was a nice, flow to it. And then I had a really good trainer too, and I still talk to him this day. He actually went over to the other side and became a deputy.
Yeah.
But he trained me on 911, and that's when I kind of started panicking a little bit more, because it's like, how do I get help to these people right away and not screw up? So it was a learning process.
It's a crazy thing when you first start out, because just the way you described it right there, you made me flash back, because I think all of us have kind of felt like that at one point, because you get a sort of like wanting to be perfect with what you're doing, because these people are calling and lives are on the line and all this other stuff. But and I've said this before many times, I think one of the things that we also need to do as much as possible is to, and we don't think about it at the time, but to give ourselves some grace, because we are also human. And I think other people who don't know what it is that we do, that don't understand, give us a little grace as well, because you have no idea what is going on, how we do things, but more so how those people stick with us afterwards. Because we're hearing all this shit. I mean, you've got someone trusting the voice of a stranger, right? And I said this in another episode. I said, what was it that we were brought up with? Stranger danger, like don't talk to strangers. But you've got someone who's calling, living their worst nightmare, and trusting a voice. And damn, just saying it that way, that's a lot of pressure, man.
It is. It's a lot. And you're just like, what do I do first?
Yes,
So-
yeah. And also trying to learn how to talk to somebody. Because, I mean, you talk, regular conversation or whatever, but when someone is calling and they're like, so-and-so's not breathing, you're like, oh my God. I mean, you don't say, oh my God, but in the back of your head, you're thinking it. You're like, all right, stay with me. We're going to, do this. And it's just go. So you do your non-emergency, you start getting into 911 and everything. How long did the training process actually last?
Back then, it was a little bit different. I want to say, was it 6 weeks of training? 3 weeks non-emergency, 3 weeks 911. I can't really remember, because it's not that it was long ago. You just kind of like block it out. I don't know. There's some certain things after a while you
it's
block
very
things
true.
out.
It's like when I first started, I mean, you heard part of my story at the ranch.
Yeah.
It was my first day. I was ready on phones. But then when I went to the Central Dispatch in Michigan, it was different in the sense that now I'm going through like a 2 or 3 month training, but also that was pushed, that was accelerated because I already had that experience. But going from being in a one-seater to now with a team, it's like, well, now I have to learn how to work with these folks as well, while taking these calls, while dealing with everybody out in the field, and it's just freaking overload. So when you were going through all of this in the beginning, what was it like developing your dispatch ear?
See, the way Harris County has it set up, first we learn the call taking.
Yeah.
Then there's a separate section with dispatch, and then we have a separate section deals with TCIC, NCIC, and the message center. So you learn kind of one at a time, which is not all thrown at you at once, which is actually really nice.
Yeah.
So after a while, I was trained over radios. That definitely was another learning experience on how to develop that ear, because sometimes you're like, what did they just say? Or they're half mumbling sometimes.
Exactly,
Not everybody has radio 101 training, so some of them are very difficult to understand. Somebody has possible accents, and you have to learn how to develop that ear to understand what they're saying.
Exactly. Yeah, because it's hard to try to make out when someone is basically eating their mic when they're talking. Is just like right over their face. You're like, dude, just pull the microphone away just a little bit. I can understand you a little more. But then also, if you're new and you don't hear them, sometimes when you're training like that, you're like, oh, I don't want to piss them off and ask them to repeat or whatever. But no, just ask, because if not, that's going to be that moment where something was actually going on and you don't know where they're at.
Right.
Like for me specifically, I wanted to do so good that even if the response was like 10-4, I would look over at my trainer and I would say, it's 10-4, right? And she'd go, yeah. And I go, okay, I don't,
You're
okay, hold on.
second-guessing yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then I would say 10-4, and she'd go, what's the deal? I'm like, I don't want to piss them off. And she goes, listen, you're going to piss them off anyway. for whatever reason, they might just be having an off day or whatever. So just ask, because it's going to be that moment that you don't and something crazy is happening. So
Yes.
had to learn that, as well. There's just such a learning process in the beginning, but even throughout your career, I mean, you're learning something every day.
You are. You're
Definitely something that you're learning. Do you remember some of your earlier calls that you had taken?
I do. Unfortunately, I missed the bad ones. I remember the bad ones.
Yeah.
There are a lot of good ones too. And of course, if somebody's calling in and they're missing their child and they have autism, my son has autism, so I'm kind of extra hyper vigilant with
Right.
that as well.
Yeah.
So some of those, are good that we find the children and, help the deputies out. But some of them I just, I do remember, and unfortunately, some young children have lost their lives due to suicide. There's also a pursuit I'll never forget as well, that a father killed his 2-year-old daughter. So that I won't ever forget that.
Jeez. Those, I think whether you have kids or not, I think it's that sense of innocence that makes a lot of those calls really tough. And, as you mentioned with your son and everything, I feel like, as I've said many times, and I've said at the ranch as well when you were there, sometimes I feel like some of these calls are meant for us for whatever reason, because of an experience we have. And I can just imagine that if I took a call for someone who has, going through a medical issue or whatever with their child that has, autism, I might not be able to, I would do what I have to do, and I know I would do a good job, but I wouldn't have that deeper connection like probably you would, because they would probably say something that I wouldn't know to pick up on, where you would, and, you'd be able to work with that better than I could.
Yeah. And there's some, it was an older gentleman and kept on calling on the phone, and he was calling 911, and I could hear something in the back, but because you have to develop that call taker ear too.
Right,
You have to be aware of the surroundings. So I could hear something, but I couldn't make it out. And I was like, okay, they're not responding. Let me go ahead and call back. And I was like, this call, it just sounds weird. I want to say, even though we're required to do so many callbacks, I did above and beyond. I think I did almost 10 callbacks on this one gentleman, and he was older, and he was like, help, I need an ambulance. I've fell or something along those lines. And finally, I got a hold of him after so long and was able to get help out to him. But it's just some type of that, some people don't develop that ear, and it could potentially, somebody injure somebody more. But some of those, you have to be really into the position.
Right.
You have to. It's not just another call or somebody that might irritate you, because trust me, I've had those repeat mental illness calls, and we have one in particular, and she just loves to call every day, maybe about 100 times a day, and we know all who she is.
Right.
And you get those calls, and I get it, they're annoying, but some of them you have to really take a step back, this person really needs help, or there's something, I don't know, something in your gut or something like that you get that.
Yes, there's that feeling that's almost eerie sometimes. You're like, no, I know something is going on. Even if you hear just a weird twinge in the background, the person might just be breathing, or you might not hear anything, but the way I have described it is, if you think of an action movie, and when they go into slow motion, and it zooms in on one specific piece and zooms out and then zooms in on another one, and it's going through a sequence. It's almost like that when you're listening to what's going on in the environment. You hear a sound, and you hear another sound, and you're like, okay, and then it starts kicking in. You're like, there's some other shit that's going on there. We need to get somebody over there.
And it's same with radios, They hate it when, I used to check on them all the time, and I don't care. If I make you mad, I make you mad, but my job is to make sure, you go home at the end of the day to your family. So I'm going to check on you, if you're good or not.
Yeah,
and if you don't, I'm going to call your cell phone until I can get a hold of you that you're okay. And
right.
I don't care if I annoy you or I piss you off, but it's my job to make sure you get home safely.
Damn right. Yes. Amen.
Yes.
I hear that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Listening to all of that stuff, there are, I remember being in dispatch and I had a trainee and I was listening in on her call, and it was a domestic call, and the person hangs up, and when they hang up, I hear a pulse. And my trainee goes to hang up, and I was like, no, don't hang up. And she looks over at me, and I said, just hold on a second. I said, this person is going to pick up the phone here in a few seconds to try to dial again. And we're waiting. Sure enough, pick up the phone, and they start dialing, and I said, talk. So she starts going through, and we get help out there. Everything ends up being fine. And when we hang up, she goes, Ricardo, how did you know that was going to happen? And I said, well, for one, I'm old, okay? So I said, two, I said, that pulse, I said, before there was touch tone, dial tone, there was a pulse. So like rotary dial, and even with push button before the others, like it would still have kind of a pulse depending on the phone.
Right.
And I said, if you held the phone open without hanging up, if you held it open and the other person hung up, it would not close the line. It stayed open. And I said, and I know that because my friends and I used to play on the phone, and we would wait until someone picked up and we would yell into the phone to scream. I said, so because I was a little shit with my friends, because we were little shits, I was like, I remember that. I said, so that's how I know. She's like, holy crap. And I said, there's things that you can pull out in your life experience that can help. And who would have thought me being an asshole as a kid with my friends?
It came in handy.
I know, it would come in handy years later with a domestic call. Like, how crazy is that? So, what is something that I guess that you're proud of, or that has been rewarding in this profession?
There's a few things. I've excelled in my career to go for call taker, dispatcher. I went to watch command supervisor, and now I'm the 911 administrative coordinator. And
which, congratulations, by the way. That is amazing. That is awesome.
And it's just been great to see, honestly, how it all works. And I think that's the biggest thing, is to train everybody to make sure that they understand how this place works.
Yeah.
I've actually learned a lot here at this conference, especially the McAllen active shooter.
Yes.
And that I hope to bring back over there that could also help during, an intense situation like that. But just learning, and now I've gotten very fortunate enough to get this position, and now I can experience these things and hopefully make our center better. And just keep the training going, and
a lot of good things.
Yeah, it is. It's been a lot of good things. So I'm proud of what I've learned, and the relationships I made with everybody. And it's you kind of get to be somewhat of a family, because you're spending all the time at work, whether you have to work 8, 16, or we have to live there because of a storm.
Yeah.
So it's good to have those relationships, and that way you can rely on each other.
I love it. I love everything that you do, everything that you've been doing. And as we go into the wrap up of this episode, first of all, thank you again for being here, for being on the show, and again, for everything that you do. So here's the last question.
Okay.
And it wasn't on the list that I gave you at all or anything like that, but it's going to be the easiest question though. Okay. So here we go. With your 5.5 years and everything that you have going on, that you've been in public safety, if you could go back in time to talk to yourself at the beginning of your career, and also, this isn't to really change anything, because I feel like there's a lot of things that we've learned throughout our time that if we did change something a little bit, it might switch to where you're at, right? So it's not to change anything, because there's some lessons that we need to learn to get to the person that we are today. But if you could go back in time to talk to yourself at the beginning of your dispatching career, your public safety career, what would you tell yourself?
To not give up, to don't be jaded, for the people that have been there for 15, 20, 25 years, that don't let their actions affect your career. Always have an open mind, always, it's a new day. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. and just don't be afraid. Take full advantage of everything that the department has to offer, because there's a lot.
Yeah. Awesome. Perfect. Thank you again very, very much for being on. And if you hang tight for just one moment, for those who are listening right now, if you have any comments, questions, you ever want to be a guest on the show, simply go to links, and that's links with 2i's.co/IM911. You'll find everything there. You'll find my email, social media, where to hear the latest episode of Within the Trenches podcast, as well as the new podcast, Imagine Listening and Open Mic, all part of the same one, the Imagine Listening podcast. You can go there. Also, there's a free link for the Trenches community. I've got over 200 free hours of continuing education there, and so much more coming up with the Public Safety Showcase, so make sure to check that out. And then shout out to InDigital for everything, for being a sponsor, and also to Rapid SOS for hosting us here at APCO 2025 and booth 2317, for everyone who's come by for Pictures with the Belt, Scavenger Hunt, and then you can hear this 24/7 on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, your favorite podcasting app, and withinthetrenches.net. Have a good one, everyone, and we will see you all in the next one.
Imagine listening to someone's worst day every single day. Imagine listening as someone experiences life, through their worst nightmare to the miracle of birth or a life saved. I'm Ricardo Martinez, a former 911 dispatcher, and for years I've been recording the voices of a hidden world, ours. I've provided a space for 911 dispatchers to share their powerful stories. It started as a peer support session and continues. Dispatchers sitting together, sharing out loud, or writing down what they couldn't say. Some stories will grip you. Stories of heartbreak, resilience, and calls that haunt us long after the line goes quiet. But Imagine Listening is more than heavy emotion. It's about healing. It's about laughing through the chaos, lifting each other up, and reminding the world that dispatchers are human too. The lighthearted will balance the heavy. Experience the power of storytelling, a podcast for the thin gold line and those who want to understand it. This is Imagine Listening. Your worst day is our everyday. Subscribe now wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.